Some bikes were built for a season, others for a lifetime, but a rare few were built so well that even decades later they still put modern machines to shame. From British icons to Japanese superbikes and raw muscle bikes, these legends prove one thing: true engineering never ages. Number 15. Vincent Black Shadow, 1948. Before there were superbikes, before the Japanese four-cylinders rewrote the rules, there was one machine that stood above them all: the Vincent Black Shadow. Launched in the year 1948, this British masterpiece wasn't just fast for its time, it was terrifyingly fast. With a top speed of 125 miles per hour, it was the world's fastest production motorcycle for years, earning it a reputation as the ultimate rider's machine. At its heart was a 998 cubic centimeter air-cooled V-twin, producing around 55 horsepower, numbers that might not seem insane today, but in the late 1940s this was unheard of. Most bikes back then struggled to break 90 miles per hour, yet the Black Shadow blew past 120 with ease. Riders described it as a rocket with wheels, a bike that demanded respect the moment you twisted the throttle. But the Vincent wasn't just about straight-line speed. Its advanced engineering set it apart. The engine wasn't merely bolted into a frame, it was the frame. This innovative stressed member design saved weight and added rigidity. It also featured a 4-speed gearbox, twin drum brakes, and high-quality suspension that gave it handling unmatched by its rivals. The Black Shadow wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a cultural icon. Hunter S. Thompson once famously wrote, "If you rode the Vincent Black Shadow at top speed for any length of time, you would almost certainly die." Even today, collectors treat the Black Shadow like rolling artwork. Original models fetch astronomical prices at auctions, yet many of them are still ridden, proving that this nearly 80-year-old legend can still hold its own against modern machinery. The Vincent Black Shadow wasn't just a motorcycle, it was the original superbike, the machine that showed the world what two wheels were truly capable of. Number 14. Harley-Davidson FXR 1982. The Harley-Davidson FXR is a motorcycle that, quite frankly, Harley built too well for its own good. Introduced in 1982, the FXR was designed at a time when Harley desperately needed to modernize. Japanese manufacturers were dominating the market with bikes that were faster, smoother, and more reliable, while Harley's lineup was stuck in the past. The answer? The FXR, a bike that blended Harley's unmistakable V-twin soul with handling and engineering that could actually rival the imports. At its core was the new Evolution engine, a 1,340cc air-cooled V-twin that would go down as one of Harley's most reliable power plants. It pumped out torque in buckets, the kind of low-end grunt Harley riders lived for. But what really set the FXR apart wasn't just the engine, it was the frame. Harley's engineers worked with frame specialists to design a chassis that was stiffer, lighter, and sharper than anything the company had produced before. For the first time, a Harley could lean confidently into corners, hold a line, and give riders real feedback on the road. Weighing in at just under 600 pounds, the FXR wasn't exactly a featherweight, but its balance and geometry made it feel planted yet agile. Compared to the wallowing cruisers Harley was known for, the FXR handled like a dream. Riders who had dismissed Harleys as straight-line-only machines were suddenly eating their words. Even today, modern Harleys struggle to match the combination of stability and precision that the FXR offered right out of the factory in the early 80s. Reliability was another ace up its sleeve. The Evolution motor ran cooler, leaked less, and held up far better than the infamous shovelheads of the 70s. Owners discovered they could rack up 100,000 miles or more with just routine maintenance. And unlike many newer bikes overloaded with electronics and sensors, the FXR was straightforward, simple enough for home mechanics to maintain, and bulletproof enough to last for generations. Of course, all of this came at a cost. The FXR was expensive to build, it looked different, rode different, and in some ways felt un-Harley. Sales lagged behind the company's more traditional models, and by the mid-90s the FXR was quietly phased out in favor of cheaper-to-produce designs. Number 13. Yamaha XS650 1968. The Yamaha XS650 wasn't meant to just compete with the British twins of its day, it was meant to bury them. When it debuted in 1968, Triumph Bonnevilles and BSA Lightnings ruled the midweight scene. They had charm, style, and speed, but they also had a reputation for leaking oil. Yamaha looked at that chaos and said, "We can do better." The result was a parallel twin so tough, so reliable, and so well-balanced that even today it still puts modern midweights to shame. At the heart of the XS650 is a 654cc parallel twin with a 360-degree crank, meaning both pistons rise and fall together. The result? A steady, torque-heavy thump that feels raw and mechanical like a living heartbeat. Unlike the fragile British designs, Yamaha built their twin with modern metallurgy and precision tolerances. No catastrophic engine failures after 20,000 miles. Instead, you got an engine that happily pushed past 80,000 miles with nothing more than oil changes and valve adjustments. Even today, it's not unusual to see an XS650 fire up after decades of sitting. Weighing in at just 430 pounds dry, the XS650 hit the sweet spot between light and sturdy. It was nimble enough for backroads, solid enough for highways, and forgiving for new riders. The upright seating position, wide bars, and predictable handling gave it an everyman versatility few bikes could match. Unlike many modern bikes overloaded with electronics, traction control, and sensors, the XS650 remains beautifully simple. Keep it alive with cheap parts and even upgrade it with modern ignition systems or carburetor kits for even more reliability. But the real secret weapon of the XS650 was its adaptability. Cafe racer builders loved it for its raw performance, chopper guys loved it for its simplicity. The bike's engine was so versatile that it powered race bikes, endurance machines, and custom builds for decades after production stopped in 1985. Very few motorcycles can claim that kind of longevity or range. Against modern midweight bikes, the XS650 still holds its ground. The XS650 keeps it simple: torque when you need it, reliability when you expect it, and soul every time you twist the throttle. It's a machine that was built to last and built to ride. Number 12. Triumph Bonneville T120 1959. The Triumph Bonneville T120 wasn't just another motorcycle. It was the motorcycle of the 1960s. When it debuted in 1959, the world had never seen anything quite like it. Sleek, stylish, and undeniably British, the Bonneville didn't just carry riders down the road, it carried the entire image of cool. Movie stars like Steve McQueen and Marlon Brando made it the poster child of rebellion. This was a bike that could run with the best of them, outhandle the heavy American cruisers, and still offer the sophistication of European engineering. More than 60 years later, it still has a presence that many so-called modern retros can't even fake. At its heart was a 649cc parallel twin producing around 46 horsepower, a serious figure at the time. But what really made the Bonneville shine wasn't raw numbers, it was how it delivered them. Smooth, usable torque right off the line gave it effortless acceleration, while its light frame and nimble handling let riders carve through corners with confidence. Weighing just 395 pounds, it felt alive underneath you, quick to respond but never twitchy. The T120's balance of speed, control, and comfort made it equally at home ripping down a racetrack or cruising down a coastal highway. The name Bonneville itself wasn't chosen at random. It was a nod to Triumph's record runs on the Bonneville Salt Flats, where their tuned twins had already proven themselves as the fastest in the world. That racing pedigree carried straight into the T120. This wasn't a show bike, it was a go bike. Riders loved that it didn't just look good in the parking lot, it backed it up with performance that could leave rivals behind. But what really cements the T120's place in history, and why it still rivals modern retros, is its rideability. Unlike many classics that demand constant mechanical sympathy, the Bonneville felt refined, easy to ride, and almost ahead of its time. Even today, with electronic aids, fuel injection, and liquid cooling, modern retro bikes struggle to replicate the Bonneville's natural feel. Twist the throttle, hear the twins' throaty exhaust, and suddenly you're connected to a living, breathing machine. The Triumph Bonneville T120 isn't just a classic, it's a timeless benchmark. A motorcycle that showed the world how a bike could be fast, stylish, and utterly rideable all at once. And even now, it continues to prove that sometimes the old ways really are the best. Number 11. Suzuki Katana 1100 1981. The Suzuki Katana 1100 wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a lightning bolt that split the motorcycling world in two. When it debuted in 1981, riders had never seen anything like it. The Katana was sharp, futuristic, and polarizing. Some called it ugly, others called it genius. But everyone agreed on one thing: this bike was fast, really fast. More than 40 years later, the Katana's looks still turn heads, and its performance still embarrasses many modern bikes that claim to be cutting edge. At its core was a 1074cc inline-4, derived from Suzuki's mighty GS series, producing over 110 horsepower, a staggering number at the time. That engine pushed the Katana to a top speed of around 140 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest production motorcycles in the world. But this wasn't just brute speed. The Katana's aerodynamic design, sculpted in the wind tunnel, allowed it to slice through the air with stability that many rivals lacked. Its aggressive forward-leaning riding position might not have been the most comfortable, but it planted the rider directly into the machine, giving a sense of control that made high-speed runs feel precise rather than reckless. The Katana 1100 also had the chassis and brakes to back up its power. It handled better than many of the so-called superbikes of its day. Riders who dared to push it found that the Katana didn't just go fast in a straight line, it cornered with confidence, giving it an edge over bulkier competitors. And unlike some of its temperamental European rivals, the Suzuki delivered Japanese reliability. Owners quickly learned that with regular oil changes and valve checks, the Katana's engine could rack up mile after mile without complaint. But the real magic of the Katana wasn't just its performance, it was its identity. This was a motorcycle that broke free from tradition and dared to be different. The Katana looked like it had ridden straight out of the future, setting the tone for decades of sport bike design to come. Even today, park a Katana 1100 next to a modern machine, and it still demands attention. But if you think the Katana's futuristic edge was shocking, wait until you see number 10, a machine so fast it forced the entire industry to rethink what speed really meant. Number 10. Kawasaki Ninja ZX11. In 1990, Kawasaki dropped a bombshell on the motorcycle world. The Ninja ZX11, known overseas as the ZZR1100. For nearly an entire decade, this machine carried a crown no one could take away, the title of the fastest production motorcycle on Earth. And the most shocking part, even today, 30 years later, this beast can still outrun many modern bikes. At its heart was a 1052cc inline-4 pumping out around 150 horsepower, an insane number for its era. Paired with ram air induction technology, it gave the ZX11 an edge at high speeds, sucking in air to boost performance as it charged down the highway. A staggering top speed of 176 miles per hour. Back in 1990, that wasn't just quick, it was untouchable. But the Ninja ZX11 wasn't a one-trick pony. It wasn't built only for top-speed bragging rights, it was also a surprisingly capable sport tourer. At around 600 pounds wet, it was heavy by modern standards, yet riders praised its stability and smoothness. The long wheelbase and aerodynamic fairings made it a dream on highways, turning cross-country trips into effortless blasts at triple-digit speeds. Even the ergonomics leaned toward comfort, something most superbikes ignored then and still do now. Even its braking and handling, considered advanced at the time, hold up today. Twin front discs, adjustable suspension, and a stiff frame made it more than just a drag strip hero. Riders could confidently carve twisty roads, proving that the ZX11 wasn't only about straight-line dominance. The ZX11's nearly decade-long reign remains unmatched. It was the first true hyperbike, the one that set the stage for everything that followed. Number 9. Honda RC30, 1987. In the late 1980s, Honda built something rare, a motorcycle not designed for the masses but for victory. The RC30, officially the VFR 750R, was a pure homologation special, a bike built so Honda could dominate racing, and dominate it did. Underneath its fairing sat a 748cc liquid-cooled V4, making around 112 horsepower, but numbers don't tell the whole story. What made the RC30 legendary was its engineering precision. It came with gear-driven cams for reliability at high RPMs, a single-sided swing arm for lightning-fast wheel changes on the track, and race-bred suspension that made it one of the best handling machines of its era. On the road it was civil, almost refined. But take it to the track, and the RC30 transformed. Its torque-heavy V4 delivered smooth yet explosive power, while its lightweight chassis, around 185 kilograms dry, gave razor-sharp feedback in every corner. Riders described it as telepathic, a machine that felt hardwired to the rider's inputs. The RC30's purpose was clear: win races. And it did. Most famously in the newly created World Superbike Championship, where Fred Merkel clinched back-to-back titles in 1988 and 1989. It also triumphed at the Isle of Man TT, cementing its place in racing history. Today, even against modern superbikes dripping with electronics, the RC30's handling, balance, and feedback still earn respect. It's not just a relic, it's proof that engineering mastery can outlast time itself. Number 8. BMW R80 GS. 1980. The year was 1980. And BMW dropped a motorcycle that rewrote the rulebook, the R80 GS. Before it, road bikes stayed on tarmac and dirt bikes stayed off it. But the GS, short for Geländestrasse, off-road road, did both, and it did them better than anyone imagined. At its heart was a 797cc air-cooled boxer twin, pumping out around 50 horsepower. Modest numbers on paper, but the secret was in its delivery: broad, usable torque that pulled smoothly across any surface. BMW paired it with long travel suspension, a rugged steel frame, and most importantly, a shaft drive. No chains to lube, no sprockets to wear out, just bulletproof reliability for crossing continents. Weighing about 186 kilograms dry, the R80 GS wasn't a featherweight, but its balance and stability made it easy to handle both on highways and rocky trails. It was built for riders who didn't just want to commute, they wanted to explore the edges of the map, and explore they did. The R80 GS became the weapon of choice for the Paris-Dakar Rally, with Hubert Ariol and Gaston Rahier piloting it to multiple wins, proving it could conquer deserts, mountains, and everything in between. What makes it timeless is not just its durability, but its simplicity. The R80 GS was a bike you could fix with basic tools in the middle of nowhere. Many examples have racked up hundreds of thousands of miles and are still running strong today. Even with today's tech-heavy adventure bikes, few can match the GS's reputation. It wasn't just the first adventure bike, it's still the benchmark for what adventure really means. Number 7. Norden Commando 750, 1967. In 1967, when British motorcycles were fighting to stay relevant against rising Japanese competition, Norden dropped a bombshell, the Commando 750. It wasn't just another parallel twin, it was a machine that redefined smoothness and handling at a time when most big twins rattled themselves apart. The magic was Norden's isoelastic frame system. Instead of bolting the engine directly to the frame, Norden used rubber bushings to isolate vibration, a 58 horsepower 745cc twin that could pull past 115 miles per hour without shaking your teeth loose. For riders used to buzzy British bikes, the Commando felt like a revelation. Weighing in at around 420 pounds, the Commando handled light and agile, carving corners with a precision few bikes of the era could match. It was sporty but also versatile, comfortable enough for long rides, nimble enough for Sunday blasts. Its upright seating, slim tank, and timeless lines gave it an elegance that still turns heads half a century later. But this wasn't just about looks or engineering tricks. The Commando backed it up in the real world. It won Motorcycle of the Year in the UK for 5 straight years and became a cult favorite among riders worldwide. Even today, many original Commandos are still on the road, their engines thumping reliably thanks to straightforward mechanics and a thriving aftermarket for parts. What makes the Commando endure isn't just nostalgia, it's that the bike still feels alive. Its mix of torque, balance, and character rivals many modern retros, proving that Norton got the formula right decades ago. And if the Commando showed how British engineering could punch above its weight, Number 6 brought pure Italian flair with performance that still makes modern sport bikes nervous. Number 6. Ducati 900 Supersport, 1975. When Ducati unleashed the 900 Supersport in 1975, it wasn't just building a motorcycle, it was cementing its reputation as a race-bred brand. Born from the success of Paul Smart's 750 SS victory at Imola, the 900 SS carried that racing DNA straight onto the streets. At its heart was Ducati's 864cc L twin engine with desmodromic valves, producing around 80 horsepower, a serious figure for its era. But it wasn't just about power. The 900 SS weighed roughly 450 pounds, had a stiff frame, and razor-sharp geometry that made it handle like a true racer. On twisty roads, it could embarrass much larger bikes, and even today, many modern riders are shocked at how planted and responsive it feels. The styling was pure Italian artistry, a slim tank, racing fairing, and minimalist lines that made it look fast even when parked. More than just a machine, the 900 SS was a statement, raw, uncompromising, and unapologetically built for riders who valued performance above comfort. On the road, the torque-heavy twin and stable chassis made it perfect for spirited riding, while its racing pedigree gave it bragging rights few bikes could match. It was demanding, kickstart only, no frills, and not built for beginners, but that's exactly what made it legendary. Today, original 900 SS models are among the most collectible Ducatis, commanding huge prices. But more importantly, their influence is still seen in every Ducati sport bike that followed. The 900 SS proved that handling and soul matter as much as raw speed, and that's why it still outshines many modern machines. Number 5. Yamaha VMAX 1985. In 1985, Yamaha dropped a motorcycle that didn't just raise eyebrows, it blew the doors off everything in a straight line. The Yamaha VMAX wasn't built to carve corners or sip fuel. It was built for one thing: brutal, addictive acceleration. At its core was a 1,197cc liquid-cooled V4 producing a staggering 145 horsepower, numbers unheard of for a cruiser at the time. But what made the VMAX truly insane was Yamaha's V-Boost system. At 6,000 RPM, extra intake valves opened up, unleashing a surge of power that felt like a rocket igniting beneath you. Quarter miles under 11 seconds became routine, and no muscle bike of its era could touch it. Weighing in at around 630 pounds, the VMAX wasn't light, and handling was never its strong suit. But riders didn't care. This bike was all about the drag strip rush, the thrill of twisting the throttle and holding on as the horizon blurred. Its upright seating and wide bars made it surprisingly comfortable, so you could terrorize highways as easily as you could dominate stoplight races. Reliability was another reason it endured. Yamaha engineered the V4 to take punishment, and many early models still run strong decades later with little more than routine maintenance. Fuel economy? Not great. Cornering? Questionable. But charisma? Off the charts. The VMAX carved out its own category, the power cruiser, and it remains one of the most iconic muscle bikes ever built. Even today, few motorcycles can match its raw, straight-line thrill. For riders who believe speed should be felt in the chest, the VMAX is still the undisputed king. Number 4. Suzuki Hayabusa GSX1300R 1999. In 1999, Suzuki didn't just release a motorcycle, they unleashed a legend. The GSX1300R Hayabusa shattered records and rewrote what speed meant on two wheels. Its mission was simple: build the fastest production bike in the world. And it delivered. Powered by a 1,299cc inline-4 pumping out 173 horsepower, the Hayabusa became the first street-legal motorcycle to smash through the 190 mph barrier, topping out around 194 mph. For nearly a decade, nothing could touch it. Competitors scrambled, governments panicked, and manufacturers eventually agreed to a gentleman's agreement to cap top speeds because the Hayabusa had pushed the limits too far. But the Hayabusa wasn't just about raw velocity. Its aerodynamic design, shaped in a wind tunnel, gave it a sleek, aggressive silhouette that cut through the air with unmatched efficiency. Riders described it as surprisingly stable at triple-digit speeds, with a chassis and suspension tuned to keep control where most bikes would wobble. At 474 pounds dry, it wasn't exactly light, but the balance between weight, power, and stability made it a true mile eater. Even long rides felt manageable thanks to its smooth engine and relaxed ergonomics, a rare mix of comfort and insanity. Today, the Hayabusa still holds legendary status. Modern superbikes with electronic aids may nip at its heels, but few inspire the same awe. Number 3. Suzuki GSX-R750 1985. In 1985, Suzuki dropped a bomb on the motorcycle world, the GSX-R750. Before it, sport bikes were basically street machines dressed up for the track, but the GSX-R750 flipped the script. It was the first true race replica, a machine built from the ground up to deliver track performance straight to everyday riders. Its 749cc inline-4 wasn't just powerful, it was revolutionary. Making around 100 horsepower, it pushed a bike weighing only 388 pounds dry thanks to its aluminum twin-spar frame, something no one else had done at the time. That gave it superb handling, razor-sharp cornering, and acceleration that embarrassed heavier rivals. The GSX-R also introduced race-derived features unheard of on street bikes: full fairings inspired by endurance racers, a lightweight box-section swing arm, and an engine that thrived at high revs. Riders suddenly had factory access to a motorcycle that felt like it had rolled straight off the racetrack. The impact was massive. The GSX-R 750 didn't just compete, it created the modern sport bike category. Kawasaki, Yamaha, and Honda scrambled to answer it, but Suzuki had set the blueprint. Even today, every superbike owes its DNA to the original Gixxer, and decades later, the GSX-R 750 is still in production, still carrying that legendary name and still balancing the sweet spot between lightweight agility and big bike power. It's not just a classic, it's the foundation of sport bikes as we know them. Number 2. Kawasaki Z1900 1972. In 1972, Kawasaki didn't just build a motorcycle, they built a legend. The Kawasaki Z1900, often called the king of motorcycles, outclassed everything on the road when it arrived. At a time when most big bikes were struggling to break the 60 horsepower mark, the Z1 showed up with a 903cc DOHC inline-4, pumping out 82 horsepower and hitting a then unheard of 130 mph. It wasn't just about raw speed, it was reliability too. Kawasaki's engineers built the Z1's engine to be bulletproof, with strong internals and oil cooling that allowed it to survive abuse mile after mile. Where rivals shook themselves apart, the Z1 just kept pulling harder. The design also played a huge role in its dominance. A sturdy steel frame, disc brakes, and wide bars made it not only fast in a straight line, but also surprisingly capable in the corners. Riders quickly realized it wasn't just the fastest bike on the street, it was also one of the most versatile. The Z1's reputation exploded worldwide. It dominated drag strips, became a favorite of custom builders, and forced every rival brand to rethink their idea of a superbike. Simply put, it set the standard for high-performance motorcycles. Even today, more than 50 years later, the Z1 is still celebrated as the machine that launched the superbike era. Collectors pay top dollar for clean examples, and modern retros like the Z900 RS exist purely to honor its legacy. The Kawasaki Z1900 didn't just beat its rivals, it redefined what a motorcycle could be. Number 1. Honda CB750 1969. If one motorcycle deserves the title of game changer, it's the Honda CB750. Launched in 1969, it wasn't just another bike, it was the birth of the superbike era. At its heart was a 736cc SOHC inline-4, producing 67 horsepower and reaching a top speed of 120 miles per hour, figures that blew away most competitors of the time. But what really set it apart wasn't just the speed, it was the technology. The CB750 was the first production motorcycle with a front disc brake, offering stopping power that no rival could match. Combined with Honda's rock-solid reliability, it gave riders something unheard of, superbike performance that wouldn't break down. It also delivered refinement. The smoothness of the inline-4 electric start and easy maintenance made it accessible to everyday riders, not just hardcore enthusiasts. For the first time, average motorcyclists could own a machine that looked, felt, and performed like a racer. The CB750 quickly became a cultural icon. It dominated the market, inspired countless custom builds, and even today is considered one of the most collectible Japanese motorcycles ever made. It forced every other manufacturer, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Yamaha, to step up and create their own superbikes. The CB750 is still praised as the bike that changed motorcycling forever. Without it, the modern superbike category as we know it might not even exist. The Honda CB750 wasn't just the first superbike, it's still the standard by which legends are measured.